Fashion. Some say it's unwearable or that it's always the same thing. That's just as true as it is false. Fashion is cyclical. You can always look at the past for an insight into the present and even for clues to the future. In Brussels, an unusual sight has just emerged, the MAD. It stands for Mode and Design, and it took founder and director Alexandra Lambert more than 15 years to get the project off the ground.
We're a connective platform which shows how innovation in fashion and design is influencing tomorrow's society.
She had to convince the Brussels authorities to create the MAD.
These sectors don't have any clout in Brussels. The major capital is Paris, it's just next door. The question is there going to be anything in return for the local economy? Is it going to create jobs in the region?
Alexandra wants to show aesthetic objects which can also solve social problems. For her first major fashion exhibit, she called upon a great creative duo from the 2000s, OWN.
What motivates us is political commitment, activism, and obviously the creative duo that we chose. These are people who have a very politically engaged way of looking at society, who have their own political opinions, who speak out against the extreme right with their own subtle way of communicating certain messages.
Thierry Rondenet and Hervé Yvrenogeau have worked together since the mid-1990s, since they were both students at the La Cambre school in Brussels. Their latest exhibition required a significant amount of research.
We hadn't archived anything in terms of the collection, so all at once there was this sort of void, and we built a whole story around what we were able to retrieve from people. So we had a first stage that was about research on the clothes that belonged to these people. That tells us about the craft of it, the industry, but it also tells our story about our respective expertise and how we work.
With experience in every aspect of fashion, they've directed design studios for major labels like Balenciaga, Margiela or Gaultier, as well as creating their label OWN, which they ran until 2007.
I think that we could have been better at the business side of things because we did have to close in the end. I think it was also down to the timing. 2007 was the beginning of the financial crisis, so the markets were tricky in Japan. European products were really expensive in yen, but we were a creative duo, and in the end the business side is actually really important.
At a time when brands were selling a heroic image of the star designer, the OWN duo preferred a collective spirit.
It was quite new, and also we loved to play with certain aesthetics that did occasionally veer into bad taste, even if I don't like that term. There's no such thing as good and bad taste, but in any case it was a style that wasn't in common taste. There was a very Belgian thing there as well, that we were obsessed with rooting our clothes in reality. That is, if we were designing clothes, they were meant to dress people, and that's always been the goal. Something else that's very Belgian too, you'll see it in other Belgian designers like Dries van Noten or Martin Margiela. They've done collections where you see the girls on the catwalk, and you also see them in the showroom. There's a finality to their creations, that is, they end up on a body, in a context.
Hervé and Thierry invented the notion of a stylish garment comfortable enough to be worn every day, a trend that's become so ubiquitous, every label's doing it.
Today, the idea of wearing trainers with an evening dress, a couture dress for example, that's become the norm, but at the time those sort of mixtures were a bit more... Also a special kind of sportswear. It's got more of an Eastern Bloc aesthetic, you know, with sort of a... there's something a little twisted. The choice of fabrics, colours.
Twisted?
Yes, twisted.
It's deviant?
Yeah, no, we were playing around with that actually. And those fabrics, they were the same ones that we were making football shorts out of, a sort of nylon. It was quite particular, so there was this mix between fine, luxury fabrics and more industrial fabrics.
The design duo called upon a handful of artists for the show, photos taken by Nicolas Karakatsanis, a freeze-frame style installation from Swiss choreographer Thomas Howert, and in the corner an old projector showing pornographic slides.
These are porno slides which are censored, and they're mixed up with slides from school. There was a potato, a church, architecture, all that. This work was done in 2002. It was the second round of the French election, Le Pen and Chirac, and if the far right had won, I think that censorship would have been a very big deal in fashion, because it's connected to society and politics too.
Hervé and Thierry, who are a couple both at home and at work, have also invented genderless, a trend that rejects gender labels. Lecturers at the Alexandra school, they're also set to teach in Paris at the new campus of the French Fashion Institute.
Beyond that image of glitter and sequins, we have to think carefully about how many garments we want to make, the materials we're going to use, how we're going to do that, the creative process. At one point, the next generation is going to need to seize the issue, you know?
When I look at the pictures from their shows, there are lots of men. They had more menswear collections than women's wear. They did have stuff for both sexes. And when I look at it all on the catwalk, I want to wear all of it. So yes, for me, they were the first to, not the first maybe, but certainly trailblazers on that issue.
The own show at the MAD serves to pique curiosity and to demonstrate how fashion can be fascinating, far-reaching and full of surprises.